Welcome, everyone, to the Success Elevated podcast. As always, I'm your host, Hayden Lee, and I am joined this week by my awesome co-host, Katie Harris, owner, managing partner, operator, whatever, just extraordinaire business owner of Spot On Solutions. Katie, thanks for joining us this week.
Hey, thanks, Hayden. I'm excited. We get to talk to our good friend, Michelle Blevins, today.
Super excited. Michelle Blevins, for our audience that lives under a rock, if you don't know who Michelle is, owner, editor of C&R Magazine, as well as just kind of an industry expert in all things restoration. So Michelle, thanks again. This is like the third time I think we've had you on, so really appreciate it. You're going to become an awesome recurring guest for us. So thanks for coming.
Well, I'm excited to be here. Thank you. SOS is such a good partner for C&R. So anything that we can do together, I get excited about.
Love it. Well, this is probably one of our favorite things to talk about. It was one of the big things that happened last year that we just loved, and we got a lot of really awesome information out of it, and a lot of information I think helped a lot of our customers and our clients. And but we are coming up to that point of the year again where we get to talk about the state of the industry report. Last year was, correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle, was the first year you guys did anything like that. And we're coming up on round 2, which is awesome. It means we can kind of take some of the things we learned from it and apply it to this new data that is probably going to come out this year. But for our audience that maybe missed last year's or didn't quite get to catch a piece of it, what is the state of the industry report? What is kind of the purpose behind it? I know you partner with some awesome people on it. Kind of give us a quick spiel of what it is.
Sure. So yes, so state of the industry was brand new last year. It came out of, I had people coming to me all the time in my previous position and current position asking, what's the size of the industry? What's average revenue size? What are the biggest challenges? And there was never really this data set that people could easily get a hold of, especially for free within the industry, and kind of comb through and use as a benchmark for where we are in the industry, and to also help kind of restorers feel like they're not alone and know the opportunities that exist and all those things. So I reached out to Know How, which is a software company in the industry. They're kind of like this platform that helps bring all the software platforms together and creates like the know-how for how to actually get your software systems adopted by your team. But anyway, so they had done some other research projects, and I knew that I could never tackle something like this alone. So they have been working alongside C&R. We've kind of teamed up our team with their team, and it's been an iron sharpening iron. I mean, there have been some really stressful moments in all of this the last few years, and it's a big, long project that takes so much work behind the scenes. I mean, Know How creates an entire book out of it, and then we have our entire state of the industry issue. It's looking like this issue is going to be like 110 pages. So
wow.
C&R is like Vogue 2.0, maybe. I don't know. Hopefully we never have another issue this big, because it's a little ridiculous.
So much work.
So we go to the printer on Halloween, which is the day before our webinar where we kind of release everything. And so this is the second year, and this gives us now we have some comparisons to make, which is interesting, and see how things are trending in the directions we're going. And that's kind of a really exciting addition to this year's study. We had about 25% more contractors participate this year. So we even have a bigger data set than before. And we're really excited to roll it out and showcase it to the industry. We were thrilled by how many people actually used it last year in their business planning or in presentations or whatever. It was really exciting for all of us.
Well, last year was really interesting because a couple things. Number one, it was the first time we had real data. So there was a lot of the things that were coming out that we had kind of like gut data, right? It's like, oh, my gut tells me this, or I've worked with enough people, I kind of think this, but it was real numbers. And so it was the first time for that, which was so compelling. And then also it was really pretty on the heels of COVID. And so it was like, oh, how much of this is like affected from COVID? And so this year, I'm really interested to see what we're going to learn being year 2 with a higher data set and being a little further out from that COVID effect.
Yeah. Yes.
Katie, I have a thought that kind of, there was a piece of the data last year that stood out to me, and I'm sure there is something for you too, Katie, but let's kind of go around. Michelle, big surprise for you last year from the data that was, you were like, this is so strange, or maybe not strange, but just, it's maybe something similar to Katie where you're like, I feel like this is true. And then the data supported it. What was kind of a big surprise for you from what you've learned last year?
I think, which this is almost an issue that sticks together, the issue of getting paid and TPA work. Those two data sets were really interesting from last year. The number of contractors that wish that they weren't doing any was kind of an interesting data set. And so you'll have to stay tuned to see how that panned out this year. It didn't pan out the way that we thought, actually. So
Interesting.
that's kind of an interesting data set. And then also getting paid. Our top 3 pain points shifted a little bit from last year to this year and how the data played out. So that's a little bit interesting. And I'll hint to it now and then I can talk about it later. There's something that emerged from the data this year that was not even mentioned last year. And it became like a top trend this year.
Wow, those are some really good teasers right there, Michelle.
Yeah.
So great teasers coming out for State of the Industry this year. For me, I hear clients talk all the time about TPAs. And so that was not really a surprise coming out of the data last year, but very confirming to me to know that that was so top of mind for people is TPA work. And so that was interesting. And then a lot of the hiring data that came out last year, I thought was pretty compelling. So really interesting to see what you're finding this year in the data when it comes to how people are hiring, what that workforce and that market, that job market looks like for the industry as a whole.
I'll add a little tidbit in there. So, because I know Hayden, I want to hear what you're
good. You're good.
I'll give a little tidbit on the data related to how much people are paying and technician tenure is really interesting. Now that we have some year over year data, there was actually a pretty big shift in tenure, and we can kind of correlate it to what you're bringing technicians in at. I know every market's different, but there's some good correlating data there that we have now. So that's a little bit
fun. That's so fun.
Yeah.
No, that was awesome. You both mentioned multiple things that I was like, gosh, yeah, what was my favorite? Was it learning that, again, kind of a gut feeling that we had, Katie, that we talk to our clients all the time that are like, we don't want to do TPA work anymore, right? So it was interesting to see the data, like that survey also be like, this is how much of people's business is TPA work. And this is how many people don't want to do TPA work anymore, So it was interesting to see that. The hiring thing was super unique. For me, I feel like the biggest thing that just, again, we hear it all the time. We know it's a pain point, but it was shocking to see was, the information about how long it takes some people to get paid, right? Like that there are contractors out there that are footing the bill for months for some of their jobs. And it's just, I can't imagine how stressful that is. And it's helped me in my communication with my clients, is helped me be a little bit more, like empathetic. Yeah. Katie, 100%, like empathetic to like what's going on with their jobs and with their careers and their what they care about, right? Their business is their baby. And for them to like go out and do a job and then not get paid for months on end and have to make payroll and make sure you're still taking care of your team. And super, super interesting data there that was like, again, something that I had heard, but to have it there in black and white and be like, majority of contractors, it takes them 45 to 60 days to get paid. You're like, oh my gosh, like that's just, it's gnarly stuff. So that was super, super insightful for me, and probably the thing that stuck out the most.
It is a huge pain point. And there are some shifts there again this year that I think that getting paid is going to continue to be an issue. For
always.
I think that we've evolved through our issues, and I think, hiring, I think, has gotten a little easier. That's eased up a little bit, but now this getting paid component seems to be more on the rise. And so the topic that I teased earlier, I will just throw it out there. AI is the thing that came through that was not mentioned at all whatsoever.
Yeah, not on our radars last year.
No, and now when you see the actual chart for emerging trends, it blows everything else out of the water. It's like AI's bar is this long and everything else is like this long.
Wow.
So
because it's infecting every piece of work, right? Like I've got a client that we've had on multiple times, Restore Right. Kenyon Martin's been on our podcast multiple times. And the other day we were setting up some AI things for his website, right? Like they're using a new software to kind of manage their jobs. It's kind of a CRM for them, but it does a handful of things. and it required integration into their website so that it can pull like AI insights from their website and their service pages. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so like fascinating. And again, a year ago, nobody talked about or really even knew what Chat GPT was. And now it's like, you could get on Twitter and it's trending every day, right? Like, I mean, there's all of these different, and that's just one type of AI. That's not even, it doesn't even scratch the surface. So that's super interesting.
We're seeing how much Google is putting it into ad types right now, right?
Yeah.
Like you've got performance PMAX type ads. So much of AI is touching our lives and our businesses and our marketing that we don't even know about yet, right? Like people aren't even realizing how much AI is impacting. It's just underneath the surface in so much of what we're doing. So that's interesting. That's going to be fun.
We also broke it down to see the difference, if there was a difference between independent contractors and franchise contractors. That's something new in this year's study that people should look out for, because we tried to break that down in a number of different arenas, not just in AI. So that's a little interesting as well. And I'm hoping that this is a little bit of a challenge for the technology vendors out there. There are so many emerging in our space. And one of the top things I hear from contractors is I wish that they all talk to each other better. I wish that there were more integrations. I wish that I didn't have to have 10 different pieces of software to get the job done or to do my documentation. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe this again will help drive that conversation forward and maybe find some more all-encompassing or cohesive solutions. Look beyond just the open APIs to true integrations and things like that.
Yeah.
Good. So good. Okay. Well, we just want to say a great big thank you to you. I know your big state of the industry is coming up, and we owe you a huge thank you for jumping on our podcast for just a few minutes and giving us a little teeny sneak peek about what's coming out. Any other maybe little sneak peeks you'll give us before the big day, the big reveal?
I don't know. I think I gave away a lot of my big sneak peeks.
You get good ones.
You get
good ones, Michelle.
So I will tell everyone that, which I think is where we're going to next, we're doing 3 webinars, 3 weeks in a row to reveal the data. Last year, we just did one and we realized that's not enough. So on November 1st, they're all at 1 p.m. on consecutive Wednesdays. So the first one is Wednesday, November 1st, 1 p.m. Eastern. You can register through the CNR website pretty easily. But we're going to do an overview with Leighton from Know How and myself do an overview of the data. On the second week, we're going through all the hiring and retention data, really diving into it, hoping to bring some experts from the industry in to really talk about what this means and how to really utilize this to push forward with hiring and those challenges. And then week 3, we're doing getting paid. So again, we're going to bring in some experts on getting paid. So you can go to the CNR website and register for those. The webinars are totally free. And hopefully we'll bring a lot of value out of those. And then we're going to have more coming in Interconnect next year. So there's a lot happening from State of the Industry.
Hey, thank you.
Awesome.
Appreciate you sharing it with us. That's going to be fun. We're looking forward to it. I know last year, our office, I mean, Hayden, I don't know if you remember, but we gathered around, like our whole team watched it together. And I did kind of geek out a little bit about it. You know, I mean, I was like cheering about it, and there was good information, and we were just making notes, and we're shooting off texts to, you know, clients and affiliates and friends as we're going through it. So really a big deal. And I know it's a ton of work for you to put this information together, but super valuable to the industry.
Well, Katie and Hayden, thank you for having me. Thank you for all your support. I appreciate it. Katie, I feel like I want that little snippet you just said to share on like CNR pages. So Hayden, I might need you to snip that one out and send it to me, because that was such a good little tidbit.
Deal. Well, we really appreciate you coming on. And again, we just kind of wanted to briefly talk today. This will be a quick podcast, but this is really kind of directed to our audience and our clients that are interested in this stuff. The state of the industry, like Katie mentioned, was a huge benefit last year for everybody that tuned in to it. I know you obviously did that webinar and kind of broke down, you know, the specific things in the report. But it was really helpful for our team to know, how can we better help our clients, right? Like, how do we be more empathetic and be more understanding and learn about the challenges that they're going through, and what are some solutions we can offer? And then again, just if you own a restoration company, this is something you need to read and invest some time in to learning a little bit more about, because it's really going to make a difference into your decisions over the next year, right? okay, hiring is going to be a challenge. What are some other restoration owners doing? How do I get paid faster? Are there resources out there that can help me get paid faster? All of these things, and this report kind of contains the foundation for you to make all of these decisions in the future. So we talked a little bit, we kind of tangentially mentioned it, but the report drops next Wednesday, the 1st, right?
First, yep.
Drops the 1st, and there'll be some is there going to be a webinar that day itself, or when does the webinar happen that you kind of break it down like you did last year?
It is on the 1st. Okay, everything drops on the 1st. Perfect. So the state of the industry article that CNR does and all of the kind of articles that sidebar it, and then No House book that they put together drops that day, which is a free download. And then also the very first webinars that day as well. Perfect. All at once.
All the stuff,
calendars,
all the stuff is on 11/1/111. You put it in your calendars. It's dropping next week. We'll have all of this information. We'll try and make sure we've got it linked in our description for the podcast. So if you're like, I don't know where to find this stuff, it'll be there in the description. You'll know where to go and find out about this report and the webinar and all that other stuff. Michelle, anything else you want to leave us with? We don't want to keep you too much longer today. Michelle, Katie, anything else we need to make sure everybody is aware of before we let them go about the state of the industry report?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me and all of your help. And, your team also is on the horn for some of the back end work of getting it all live. So thank you for that. And Hayden, I hope you win the chili cook-off.
Yes.
There is a chili cook-off happening in our office right now. Yes.
Before we started recording, I was putting the finishing touches on my soup, hopefully win the chili/soup cook-off. Not that our audience really cares, but hey, if you're ever in...
But you are a defending champion.
I am a defending champ. So if you're ever in Southeast Idaho and want some soup, I can make you some soup. That's all I'm going to say. Anyways, great episode. Thanks, Michelle, for coming on and chatting a little bit about this. Katie, anything else before we let her get out of here?
No, it's great. Really looking forward to round 2 of State of the Industry. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
This has been Success Elevated, making you a little bit better one show at a time. Thanks for joining us. Please subscribe on YouTube or any other major podcast platform to listen to more episodes. We are proudly brought to you by Spot On Solutions. If you'd like to learn more about how we can help you grow your business, please check us out at spotonsolutions.com.